Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, BCA's Katie Boyd Britt is our special guest. Also, the V-Team takes a look at the U.S. Senate money race. And Governor Kay Ivey rocks the state of the state.
'Cause I'm glad that you're the one who got away. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Oh, baby, any day that you're gone away. It's a beautiful day.
Alabama, USA. Rainbows and unicorns? Ah. All this and much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and today I'm joined by Jonathan Barbie, constable at law and a Republican stalwart, Susan Britt, a research guru and also associate editor at APR, Jack Campbell, radio host and conservative commentator. Would you call yourself a commentator?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've been called other kinds of taters.
I've been called a lot worse than that.
A lot of other different kinds of taters, but that's one of them. Y'all do a great job on your radio show. I really enjoy the show. Susan, this week we listened to Governor Ivey's State of the State. We were there in the old House chamber. She was strong. She was on message. And I got to tell you, if there is a leader in Alabama, it is Governor Kay Ivey. She is leading the way, and she knows her agenda, and she's wanting it, and she's going to get it.
She's going to get it. She basically just laid out for the legislature what they're going to need to do. And she did it, while being very diplomatic about it. She was very strong and saying, we've been messing around. We've been putting duct tape on this state for too many years. There's no reason we should be 47, 48, 52 in these categories like education and stuff. And finally, after several decades, she's going to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, she is refusing to back down from the tough fights, prisons, education reform, the gas tax last year. She's taken on the big issues that have been avoided for a long time.
She really is, and I'm not saying anything about her age, but she is at the point, you always do what grandmom says, and I'm just saying that, she's got a way about her where she says, this is the way it's going to be done. She takes a leadership role, whether you agree with it or don't. I don't agree with everything. But she takes a leadership stance in order to move it forward and get it done. And she tries to, I think, get a compromise going. That's what she would like to have happen,
Well, she
started out by saying, let's get this done in a bipartisan way.
And when she talked about prisons, she said, we're going to have a bipartisan solution on this. And that's what she did. Jack, something I really didn't expect at all is that she came out and said that gaming is now her issue, basically. She said, I'm letting the legislature know that I'm signing an executive order to put together a gaming study group. It'll be some of the most distinguished Alabamians, and when we have it ready, we'll come back to you. And she asked them to stand down. Bold move, right?
I think so. I think one thing you can say about Kay Ivey that you might not could have said about Bentley is that she is very decisive.
Yeah.
And people like that. And Bentley would be wishy-washy about things, and he would change his mind depending on who got in his ear. But Kay's a different bird.
Yeah. Yeah.
They used to say about Bentley, he would tell you yes and change his change his mind before you actually got out the door of his office.
Yeah. Well,
she doesn't do that.
I mean, the Porch Creek have spent Jonathan, the ads are everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
They had to spend at least several $1 million.
Oh,
right?
they have definitely have on television, on digital. Every time you scroll through your social media, visit a conservative website, they're saying, we're going to give the state $1 billion. We're going to give $1 billion. We're going to give $1 billion. And they're driving that home in people's heads. And people are looking at that going, wow, $1 billion. What does that look like? And as you've pointed out before, it's really not $1 billion.
And they're doing flyers too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been all over the place. But Susan, they had to be very disappointed when Governor Kay Ivey said, we're going to take this into a study group. And then basically she said, I'm going to come back to the legislature and explain it to them. She took ownership of this issue.
She did not even mention the $1 billion. She did not mention PCI in any way or any part of this plan.
Well, she didn't mention PCI.
I mean, she mentioned PCI, but I mean, the offer that they're doing kind of vaguely.
Right.
But she said, no, we're going to put the brakes on this. We're going to get this commission together, this study group together. We're going to hear from them probably by the end of this year.
Yep.
So she's just putting the brakes on everything.
Yep. Now, Jack, Steve Klaus, budget chair in the House, has said he's moving forward with his lottery bill. Didn't care what the governor said. Is that wise?
I don't know. I'm not sure I'd run afoul of her right now because she is very strong. But I think this establishment of a task force on gaming, to me, kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody was expecting it.
Right.
And maybe she should have gone to Klaus and said, hey, we're going to come up with a solution. I'm going to appoint this task force. And I kind of don't blame him for going ahead with it, but he does so at his own peril.
Yeah, I would think so. Because she knows how to pull the levers of power. Mm-hmm. She does.
Well, let's face it. When Bob Riley was governor and you had Milton pushing the gaming bills in Alabama, it bogged down every session.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't get anything done and I think people are tired of that. They're tired of having to face it every session. And I take my hat off to her for bringing up her solution.
Listen, the last time any legislation passed to get a lottery on the ballot was in 1999.
Right.
And that failed, but at least Siegelman took it forward. We've seen the polls. If they put this out there, it will pass.
Yes, it will.
And Governor Kay Ivey will be remembered for education. And think about what could be better for her reputation, which is already solid, than to do something that guarantees a scholarship for all Alabama children. We may have to get to that later.
Yeah, because, she's a former educator.
Yeah, she's a former educator, and this would look good on her resume. Right, Jack?
Yes, except for the appointed school board.
Well, all right, you're watching the voice of Alabama politics. Coming up next, a special guest, Katie Boyd Britt from the BCA.
I'm Charles Barkley. As an impact player on the court in college and the NBA, it was very important for me to make a difference in the game. I feel the same way about decisions made in my home state of Alabama and in our nation. That's why I'm registered to vote. I want to encourage you to be registered to vote and make sure you bring your voter ID to the polls. Let's make a difference.
Hey man, what are you doing today?
Play the game. Thought I'd go out for a drive later maybe. Text some friends while I'm doing it. Scroll through social media. Kill a family 4 and a head-on collision.
Cool, man.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
A lot can change in 5 years. Except those smile lines you treated with Bellafill. Because that's about how long Bellafill will keep them smooth and filled. 5 years. Now you can always look your best without all those injections, appointments, and costs. Bellafill is the only dermal filler that stimulates and maintains collagen growth long term. Now time is on your side.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Our special guest today is Katie Britt, President and CEO of the Business Council of Alabama. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me, Bill. I appreciate it.
Do you know I have a nickname for you?
Oh, give it to me. I want to hear.
The Notorious KBB.
Oh, I like it.
The Notorious
I like it.
Katie Boyd Britt, because
I like it.
You are a dynamo. I know a lot of the women that work for me, you are a shining example to them. They think you are the type of leadership that Alabama has so desperately needed. And you are a role model to young women in our state. And I want to thank you personally for being the Notorious KBB.
Well, I appreciate that more than you know. I mean, that's truly an honor. And I will tell you, as I meet these young women across the state, whether it be here with you or out speaking or out working different meetings and things like that, I am inspired by the leadership that they have and their vision for the state and their grit and determination and willingness to move us forward. So it's mutual.
I have a, we all have nicknames. And I think that was...
I had not heard that. I like it.
Anyway.
I like it.
Governor Kay Ivey delivered her 2020 State of the State. And as I think we wrote, she rocked it.
She did. And speaking of grit and determination and true leadership, I mean, it exuded from her in every single point that she made throughout that speech. Weren't you encouraged? When she said real leaders don't shrink, in the face of adversity, but they stand, I thought, absolutely, and we need more of that if we're going to move our state forward.
And I agree. We were speaking with the governor the other day, and I said, Governor Ivey, I don't mean to shine your apple because I'm taking a few bites out of it. But really, she is so head and shoulders above the leaders. She's taking on the hard task that her predecessors only nibbled around the edges. And whether it's prison reform or rural broadband or workforce development. And I know you're involved in a lot of these things and you see the importance of it. I mean, you represent the business community of Alabama, the economic engine that drives us forward. And so what particularly out of the State of the Union caught your ear?
I would say several things. First, as we just referenced, her willingness to tackle these tough things. I have said time and time again, unless we have leaders that get in a room and talk things out and are willing to make tough decisions, we're going to consistently be 48, 49, 50, 51, and 52. And so I was very encouraged to see her. There's nothing that she missed in all of that. I would say in particular, workforce development obviously is something that continues to speak to the business community. So as the Workforce Council has laid out and the governor has said, we have a very ambitious goal of having 500,000 new highly skilled workers by 2025. We have heard things from anything from being 120,000 workers short to recently the Business Education Alliance has said potentially even 200,000 workers short. So to listen to her place emphasis on that is something that speaks directly to the business community. Bill, I think for a long time people looked at workforce development and said, that means let's talk to our 11th and 12th graders about what they want to do or where they want to go to college. And to see a more comprehensive approach, particularly coming from the very top of our state, is very encouraging. I would say that approach that talks about pre-K and talks about the importance of making sure that our youngest Alabamians have the opportunity to thrive. And then all the way through, career coaching and talking about how we get 8th graders engaged and the many opportunities that can create success. I think a long time ago, we kind of thought, or even more recently, that the only path to success was a 4-year degree. And I think we know that is absolutely not true. And you saw that in the things that she was talking about. I was encouraged by her talking about the incarcerated population and making sure that we are equipping them with the tools to come back out and be successful citizens.
And I think that's important, and that you bring that up. It reminds me of the fact that when we put people in prison, we are demanding that they stay away from society for a period of time. But at the end of that time, they're going to come back into society. And if they do not have jobs and they don't have places to live and they don't have the tools to survive out here with us, they're going back to prison.
That's right.
And so she had a lady there who had gone to Ingram State, who had gotten a certificate, who got a job and got other people jobs. These are the kind of success stories we need to build on. I used to have a friend who had a company that almost solely employed ex-inmates, ex-incarcerated people. And he started them out at $15 an hour, the best job they'd ever had. And almost all of them were a success.
That's right. Give them a chance for success.
Yeah.
I will tell you, we at the Business Council had the opportunity to tour Ingram State Technical College, and the work that they are doing there with the inmate population, particularly as they're getting ready to be released, is incredible. And obviously, I think they said in 2019 they had 309 inmates that were released that had gone through the program, and I believe they placed 278 of them in jobs. And you know, that's, if we're going to meet the workforce needs of our state, and we're also going to do a better job of making sure we're creating good communities. I mean, this is an essential piece of that.
It is, and
excited to see that.
And one of the other things I think she hit on during the State of the State that was the mental health crisis we have and the mental health opportunities we have.
Right.
One of the things that gets underserved in job recruitment and job training are there people with some limited mental incapacitation.
That's right.
That can do certain types of jobs, but they also have to have training. But one of the things that we've seen in our whole nation, and especially in Alabama, there is a lack of emphasis on taking care of those that have mental health issues that causes them harm and society harm.
That's right. That's right. And I think if you look at what the governor had to say in the leadership of Commissioner Bashir, very encouraged that we are tackling that issue. So when we talk to employers across the state, there's a variety of reasons, whether they're hiring or needing to hire, that sometimes it's more challenging, and sometimes it's making sure that people have the proper skills they need. Sometimes it's making sure that this mental health compartment is working properly, and people are getting access to that type of I guess those types of resources to make sure, they have seen that those things turn into substance abuse or may turn in, and then which then gives you challenges to show up to work on time. I mean, it's kind of a vicious cycle there. And I did hear, the commissioner said we were the lowest in the nation when it came to mental health professionals with regards to our schools. And so I'm encouraged that we can maybe tackle this early, invest early in our youngest citizens and make sure we have a more productive workforce in the future.
Well, one of the things I know you're concerned about, and as Governor Kay is concerned about, and I am as well, is that we do today the things that will make for a better tomorrow.
That's right.
And we have to do that.
Well, and Bill, sometimes that's a challenge. So, people want to, we live in a society where we want instant gratification. We want to see results today. And I am not negating that we need to see results and do things that can make an instant impact, but we've also got to plant the trees whose shade we will never stand under, that will be for someone else. And so I'm encouraged that we're not only fixing problems now, but we are laying a foundation for our children and our children's children to have a better Alabama.
Well, everybody I talk to says you're doing a great job, and I want to thank you for your service at BCA and to our state.
Well, I really appreciate it. And
come back soon.
Appreciate the opportunity. Absolutely.
You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. Our special guest today has been Katie Boyd Britt, CEO and President of the Business Council of Alabama. We'll be right back.
I'm Deontay Wilder. As the heavyweight champion of the world, it is very important to make sure that every punch I throw is thrown with purpose in order to make a difference in my fight. I feel the same way about decisions made in my home state of Alabama and our nation. That is why I'm registered to vote. I encourage you to register to vote, and remember on Election Day to bring a valid photo ID to the polls. Let's make a difference.
What are you doing today, babe?
I thought I'd head down to the lake with the guys, do a little fishing. Of course, none of us will be wearing our seatbelts. I'll lose control of the truck, wrap it around a tree, and kill us all.
Okay.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
The Energy Institute of Alabama promotes reliable, affordable, and clean energy to help grow our economy, create high-paying jobs, and build public support for Alabama's energy industry. The Energy Institute of Alabama is the best source of energy industry information and how it affects households across the state, from convenient energy production to alternative fuels to solar power and beyond.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Jack, you wanted to talk about Amendment 1, and that's Governor Ivey's plan to do away with the elected school board. She wants an appointed board. This is a bill, a constitutional amendment that passed, the bill. The bill passed. It's got to go before the voters, and I hope the voters will vote it down because I think it's a bad idea. You don't like the idea? I don't like taking power from the people on a vote. I don't trust politicians to make appointments that are just going to govern education for years to come. What Texas did in back in like '83, they passed House Bill 72, a big deal. They eliminated the elected school board. They had an appointed school board that served for one term, and then they had to run for election. That would be a little more palatable to me, but I just don't like the idea of taking away the people's right to vote on this. It's too important. And you can argue, well, they suck, we've been in the mud for years. I mean, that's a good argument, but I just don't think appointing them by politicians is the answer. Well, and Governor Ivey's point is that she thinks you can get done more if you take the politics out of it. They're not running for re-election, that we've had 5 superintendents in 5 years, and that this is a symptom of the dysfunctional school board. So,
well, if I may, go ahead. If I may say something, my mom was an educator, my wife was an educator. If they would pay these school board members a little bit more than what they pay them, actually a lot more, because they don't get paid that much, they could have some teachers who don't mind taking retirement, who have been in the system. They'll retire from their job, and then they can run for the school board. But it's just not, making $1,000, whatever it is a month, try to be on the state school board, it's just not feasible. We'll see what comes of it. I want to move on. State Senator Jim McClendon Susan this week introduced legislation that, if passed, would curtail any gambling interest or person involved in gambling interest from campaign contributions to the legislature, the lieutenant governor, and the governor. It would not restrict which you give to judges or other state officials, but those you could not give to if you operate, own, or affiliated with a gaming entity.
Absolutely. We had some instances over the last in the last campaign where the Porch Creek were giving like $65,000 to this one and $50,000 to that one. In fact, with this $1 billion plan, there's a rumor. Now, albeit it's a rumor, but they have the capability of doing this. That what the rumor is that they're going to give $100,000 to every legislator that votes for their monopoly. I'm a House member, and every $150 to every senator that votes for their monopoly. Now, albeit that a rumor, I don't know that it's true. But if you think about the fact that if they're talking about a monopoly here, what if next time they're talking about our roads and bridges? Or whatever that has to do with our life as Alabamians, but they would have that much money or that ability to make influence over the legislature.
Well, I like the idea of taking money out of the gamers, ability to influence elections. I like that idea. We have a precedent here in Alabama because it says that a utility cannot give to the Public Service Commission, right, Jack? Right. So we already do that in one sector. I think gambling is so susceptible to corruption, and our lawmakers are so susceptible to corruption.
Absolutely.
We might want to take the money out of it.
And don't think they wouldn't all grab that $100,000
they would.
Or that $150,000 if it were offered to them. I mean, I guess it's not a quid pro quo as such because you're rewarding them after the fact. Yeah. But it really is.
It is. It really
is. One of the things I haven't looked at this recently, but when Dr. Larry Stutz, a.k.a. Dr. Death, was running against Johnny McMorrow. He needed some money for that election because Johnny was doing well. And so the Senate leadership called up to Porch Creek and said, hey, we need for you to give the doc up here 50 grand. And they just stroked the check for 50 grand, Jonathan. I mean, that's like having your own slot machine.
Yeah, really.
Own it, baby.
Well, let me tell you, they have a lot of money, and they make a billion, couple billion, or you know, a year. They make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So they've got it easy to stroke a check to a politician.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to one issue that's off of gaming here real quick, and that is Doug Jones has he's outraising his Republican opponents. But I got a text right after he voted on to impeach President Trump, said that Doug Jones's chances of winning an election in Alabama went from slim to none. Jonathan, I don't think he could have voted for or against the impeachment. I don't think it made any difference to Republicans here.
It really didn't make a difference, no matter what he had done. I mean, Republicans don't want him here. He was just, in their eyes, just a one and done senator, filling a gap because they didn't like the other person. I don't see it happening. Either way, he could have even abstained. It wouldn't have helped him.
I don't think it made any difference, Jack. And right now,
no, but it did. It solidified his base in the Democrat Party.
That's right,
which is important. Yeah. Just in case there's a snafu with the Republican nominee, like there was last year. And so he's shoring up his base. I was not for it, but I understand why he did it.
Well, and you're right, because he couldn't get the donors. I mean, he would cut his nose off to spite his face, right, Susan?
Absolutely, because if he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't.
I mean, Terry Lathan and Jeff Sessions and all of them came out and said how awful he was. He shouldn't have voted that way.
Well, Terry Lathan certainly isn't capable of giving him any money because the party
you,
can't raise.
Do you think Terry Lathan would actually praise him?
No. Well, we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.
Yeah.